MH Brews here. Here is our replacement kegerator that we replaced the Vulcan unit with. Vulcan unit still works fine, and actually we are trying to sell it, but this was definitely something more commercial oriented and had many advantages over the other one. The first order of business is the only reason we did replace the Vulcan unit was because I was looking for something easier to change the kegs in, something to run more accurate beer pressure and the right amount of beer line and stuff like that for this. This was purchased off Craigslist for $100. It did not operate and actually did come with a bigger club top model freezer that actually was stolen. I put it out by the trash and it disappeared. I don't know about that, but it just disappeared one day, which actually did me a favor. This is a Continental NC69. Which means it's 69 inches long. This unit is actually, surprisingly enough, only about 10 years old. When I first purchased it, I thought this thing was about 30, just based on the condition. First thing, like I said, this thing did not run, so the first thing to do was replace the compressor. That was done from J.D. Wheaton Associates, which did a very good job. The cost of replacing that was $470. So now, at that point in time, I had, about $600 into this unit. The next thing that was added was the casters. That made it a lot easier to move around, which casters were $100. Last but not least, the lines and the inside needed to be all cleaned out, which was virtually no cost. The air tubes going from the fan into these columns needed to be changed out. This needed a new paint job, which these aren't really painted. They've got some sort of wallpaper stuff on them, and the stickers are kind of to hide the blemishes from that. I picked a color that matched, and it looks okay. I mean, it's all about the cost, as far as I'm concerned. Had this been a brand new unit, I would have never done anything like that, but since it was still a $100 item at that point, it's still good to go. This is a commercial unit. This is what you would find in a lot of bars. In fact, this is bigger than some of the bars I've been in, and it's like, dude, I got that size in my garage. This does hold, as you can see, it does hold about 8 Cornelius corny kegs, or about 3 of the regular style kegs. You can see it's kind of a mess with the lines, but to run the accurate lines, you've got to do what you can. Here's these lines that I was talking about to keep the towers cool. They do have air blowing in them. There's actually 3 fans in the back that circulate the air. If you guys have watched the video about the Vulcan, here's what I'm talking about. This right here will hit the top part that opens up on that Vulcan. So you just need to be careful on that. Actually, I plan on buying a 90-degree stainless swivel nut for this to just kind of make it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier. In the back left-hand corner is where the original controller was for this. It had a high-low. There's been some argument on whether or not that was original based on what Centennial told me. The couple last things that I'd like to talk about is the drain on this. This actually just, somebody put a plastic piece in there and siliconed it up. I bought the right fitting and just ran it into a 2-liter inside the kegerator, which works out really good. The CO2 tank is obvious on the left with the 6 tap right gauges. These are very nice. I recommend these above the economy ones any day of the week. It's so nice to just pop out that handle and turn around versus the other way with the tools as the economy ones are. Obviously number 1 and number 6 don't have anything on them, but you can see you can run all kinds of different pressures for the different style of beers. This is interesting. Not quite sure I like that. There was just a hole drilled and siliconed up with clear silicone to seal it up, and there's no air leaks. It seems to work very good. The advantage of doing it that way was no leaks. I was going to run something like this, which you have your air line, this goes through the kegerator, and another one of these over here and go out. These don't really tighten down like I'd expect, and in fact I lost a tank of CO2 because of a leak, so that's what changed my mind. The controller on this thing is over here. It is a Renko unit, very happy with it. The instructions that came with it might as well have been in Japanese. Found a good website online. I did post it to my Facebook page. It says how to wire these things up. It is set up on a 4-degree differential. It cools down to 34 and then runs, and then doesn't run until it gets to 38. Cools back down to 34. That seemed to be the best compromise for cost, coolness of the beer, and a couple other things I looked at. I just ran the temperature probe inside, back behind the evaporator coils, I think is what they're called, on the inside. I did run it in some water for a while. I ran it in the air for a while. Where it's at now just seems to be the best, not by far. Running it in the water was a good idea. I did find somebody say that's a good idea to use. It seemed to work, but I got worried about, I did look at it one time and the water was frozen. The last thing about that is the power usage. The fan's running all the time. It's about 2 amps, 1.5 to 2 amps. When this unit kicks on, the draw does go up to 9. So from what I've seen is it's about $30 a month to run. Thinking, looking back, thinking through everything, maybe a refrigerator or a freezer is the way to go. But you got to weigh in the doors that open on the front, changing kegs. You're not limited to kegs. I mean, this is actually a pretty cool unit. I did replace these faucets up here with the Perlick. One's off my other one. These are very nice faucets. I had planned on using a stout faucet with a beer gas system, possibly a wine system, but I just did not want to drill any more holes in it. The initial thing was to maybe put the CO2 tank or nitrogen tank on the inside. The biggest drawback that I have found on the nitrogen for beer gas and wine is getting the units filled. In Wichita anyway, you can't just get it filled like you can a CO2 tank. I mean, this one has got some dates on it somewhere that says, in 9 years or 5 years you go back and they get it filled, or get it checked and then they refill it. Well, nitrogen, it doesn't matter what you bring them, they give you a different tank, which is all fine and good until you look at the pricing on that, and it's a couple $100 for the tank, and then it's $15 to get filled, and I just didn't feel it was worth it, knowing that it's a true nitrogen system or beer gas system, but I figured this is close enough for my needs. I mean, stouts are great on beer gas, but at what point is it just not feasible? If you guys have any questions, any suggestions, maybe want a detailed picture of what's of something inside, just shoot me an email. But this is a really cool unit. When these things are new, they are about $2,200 to $2,400. I've got I've probably got 1,000 into this, counting the faucets, counting counting everything I bought for it, like the casters, the compressor, the tap right gauges. I did get a really good deal on this. The only reason I'm running something like this. I was actually looking at freezers and fridges to get something a little bit more efficient, because at what point do you go, well, my fridge costs $5 or $10 a month to run versus 20 or 30 like this thing does. But anyway, if you guys have any questions, shoot me an email at mj@mhbrews.com, or find me on my Facebook page at facebook.com/mhbrews. Thank you, and you have a good day.